Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. Welcome aboard. Tonight is Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. This is live stream 837. I have no idea why yesterday I said it was live stream 835. Well, that's real good. I just bumped the mouse and went right back to the intro. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, yeah, I swear, the OBS Studio, it's like a new update to it, and I hate some of the changes they've made. So it's just not as intuitive as it once was. Anyway, I started to say, I don't know why last night I was saying it was live stream 835. I knew it was 836. Now, see, that's what happens when I don't script a bunch of the stuff. The only thing that's scripted is, you know, like the news pieces and the credits for the games we look at and things like that. So obviously enough, you can tell that things are super, super casual around here if you haven't stopped in to watch the stream before. Come on, we're not performing rocket surgery. We're just talking about games and taking a look at games and sometimes reviewing games like I am all month long, pretty much here on the live stream. So there is that. Of course, keep in mind, this is a live stream. So we are going to be doing a review tonight. And I'm sure some folks will be tuning in because I'm reviewing the Doctor Who, the Role-Playing Game Second Edition from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. That's right. We'll be diving on in and I'll be sharing my thoughts about this new edition in just a bit. But we do tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So if you are tuning in and you're looking forward to the review, please keep in mind to be about 35 minutes before we jump on in. So in the meantime, put your feet up, relax, take it easy, be good to yourself. Now, if you are watching 30 minutes or more after this stream ends, well, then you can actually use the timestamps and jump ahead and bypass the tabletop gaming news of the day if you would like. And you'll find those timestamps in the show notes. And of course, depending on the device you might happen to be watching this on, they might actually be right there in the timeline for you as well. Also, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And finally, it's a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's actually one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I'll do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight was the Motor City Madman, That's right. The Madman is with us. He is one of our chat moderators as well. We've got Coco B, Viper Dave, Jason Bratley, who I will talk about after the news for a moment or two. Tessie Trekkie is with us. Flaming Heron, another of our chat moderators from across the pond, is in chat, as is William Hell Has Eyes. 245 Trioxin is making an appearance as well. So William points out great old time radio broadcasts on the website. Yes, it is actually the Gaming Gang October Spooktacular 2022. Pretty much every Halloween, when I'm able to, I put together Spooktacular. So every night there's a new old time radio show. It's spooky kids. Scatty kids, scatty. For you to enjoy. And I do a little intro, I do a little outro to them. And this year, no exception, doing it once again. And I'm actually going to talk a little bit about tonight's edition of the Spooktacular after the news as well. Because in my opinion, tonight is going to be the scariest radio program I've ever heard. Bar none. Bar none. All right, let's jump on into the news because I've got a good eclectic mix tonight. Making its way into stores next month from Trick or Treat Studios is Creature Feature. Here's what I know. In this game of hand management and bluffing by Richard Garfield, you are a movie agent representing actors who excel at particularly monstrous roles. Try to get them the part in the feature film, or failing that, at least a part in some film. Each round, you'll assign a co-star and a star, cards with a number value and possibly a special ability, to audition for a role, a tile worth points. Everyone will reveal their co-stars and then have the opportunity to change what they are auditioning for, and instead try for lesser films worth fewer points. Winning a part scores points, but there's a twist. If your star has a lower value than your co-star, you can't win unless everyone else stops competing for that film. But if everyone does back off, you score extra points. The game ends after a fixed number of rounds, and the player with the most points wins. Creature Feature is for 3 to 6 players, ages 13 and up, plays in around 30 to 60 minutes. Will carry an MSRP of $39.95 when it arrives in November. Too bad it is not making it before Halloween. I would take a stab in the dark. This is something that had a delay. Otherwise, it would have been out for Halloween because it looks like this would be a perfect card game for Halloween. I will also mention Trick or Treat Studios has quite a few tabletop games that they're releasing. And they're actually a company that's known for their Halloween costumes and masks. And they are pretty cool too. So if you are in the market for some cool masks, say, I don't know, maybe the Madman? We know we call him Mr. Halloween around here. I want to take a peek at Trick or Treat Studios. Perkins Dearborn is with us in chat. Sweet. We have not seen Perkins in a while. So welcome aboard. We got a good chat off and running already. Next up, Fall of the Mountain King is about to hit stores in November. Here's the latest from Burnt Island Games. It is time to share the legend of how we trolls were driven from our home generations ago by the relentless gnome invasion that shattered the 7 clans. One hero among us would rise up to defend the mountain against impossible odds, fight that doomed war with honor, and become the leader our people would need in exile. That legend is yours. That hero is you. The gnome attack was sudden and relentless. They swarmed our tunnels, defiling our mountain home and driving us from our ancestral caverns. Trolls from every clan rushed to the heart of the mountain to defend our great halls. We've lost track of how long we've been beating back the endless waves of invaders. Soon it will be time for a final stand. Will we rise up like champions or be driven out to the wilderness to fight for survival? Sharpen your blades, brothers and sisters. Raise your hammers. If we trolls must fall, we'll fall fighting like kings. Fall of the Mountain King is a standalone prequel to In the Hall of the Mountain King, set during the catastrophic war that drove the trolls from their mountain kingdom generations ago. Build your ancestry to drive your actions in the caverns, win the loyalty of the clan champions, and strive to be trolldom's greatest defender against the gnomish onslaught. Fall of the Mountain King is for 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, plays in 13 minutes or so per player, and will carry an MSRP of $59 when it hits stores next month. Do want to mention that this was a successful Kickstarter. There is a Kickstarter edition that has miniatures. Now, this next image you're going to see is kind of an artistic shot with the kind of like troll meeples, or I guess we could call them treeples. The Kickstarter edition, which I got to be honest, I do not have an MSRP on, replaces those with troll miniatures. So there are a bunch of minis in the special Kickstarter edition. Gotta be honest, I have seen mention of In the Hall of the Mountain King, and I have heard it's pretty good. This seems pretty interesting as well. So I gotta also be honest, I've never played any of the Burnt Island games, but they've had some releases over the past year or two that do look pretty cool. That's why I share news about them. So let's talk about some role-playing game news, because currently up on Kickstarter for Earl of Fife Games is the Heroes and Hardships role-playing game. Here's the scoop. Any setting, any character, any adventure, anything you can imagine. Heroes and Hardships is a universal role-playing game that allows game masters to craft any story they desire. Heroes and Hardships contains many options to facilitate diverse styles and genres of play. GMs can easily create standard fantasy, sci-fi, modern, historical, and superhero games. And of course, feel free to readily mix and match all of these genres in any way you see fit. In Heroes and Hardships, you'll find a universal role-playing game system suitable for any setting or genre. Extreme customization, from optional rules to hundreds of character options. Tightly designed game systems that work seamlessly together or apart. Dangerous and tactical combat with optional rules for simpler forms of violence. 2 interconnected magic systems for wizards and superheroes alike. There's vehicle creation and combat, a bestiary full of medieval, fantasy, modern, and science fiction adversaries. Extreme quality from AAA game industry artists to hardcover book extras like a ribbon, soft touch matte cover, and FSC paper, and much more. There is a short Kickstarter video. It's just a hair over a minute. So let's kick back and give it a watch.
From the backs of dinosaurs to cyberpunk streets. From deadly samurai duels to the birth of androids. From space troops on a desert planet to the feast of Victorian vampires. Any character, any setting, any adventure. Anything you can imagine. Heroes and Hardships has you covered. Heroes and Hardships is a universal role-playing game system built for flexibility and fun. Features include a roll and keep dice pool system, hundreds of character options, gritty and tactical combat, dangerous and dynamic magic systems for wizards and superheroes, and much more. This 248-page core rulebook supports any setting or genre, filled with hundreds of options across character creation, combat, magic, adversaries, optional rules, and much more, you will always play your way. Back Heroes in Hardships today and become the hero you always wanted.
Yes, the end of that video was stealing a little bit of my thunder, because you can reserve a copy of the 248-page hardcover of Heroes and Hardships for a $50 pledge, which will actually also include all 28 of the Earl of Fife Games products in PDF. You heard me right. Kind of includes everything that they've ever made for other game systems and things like that. So not only are you getting the hardcover book, but you're getting a ton of content for other stuff, third-party stuff as well. And I have shared some Earl of Fife Games news pieces in the past. If you want to just score the core book PDF alone, you can do that for a $20 pledge. And this is through November 3rd. Expected delivery is October of next year. And last I looked, this is fully funded. It's right around 300% funded over on Kickstarter. Looks top notch. Looks like we've got some cool artwork. It's not some newbies on the scene. So these folks have been working on role-playing game materials and products for quite some time. So it's going to be something to check out. Plus, it's genreless. It's genre agnostic, as I like to say. So make it whatever you want it to be. So the Madman pointed out his Jason Voorhees costume gets a lot of screams. Yes, the Madman loves terrorizing the kids in the neighborhood, I guess. So we've discussed that there's like candy out front. So like the little kids can just get the candy. They don't have to, pee themselves going through the haunted house that the Madman sets up. Also, some questions about when do we do our trick-or-treating? Yes, it is normally only on October 31st, but as the Madman points out, some towns and counties and things like that change things up so that it's like, oh, yeah. So there's, trick-or-treating on October 30th. In fact, when they do it where they have the parking lots and people drive their cars up, it's trunk-or-treating, as the Madman points out as well. Kevin R. Smith has joined us in chat. Good to see you, Kevin. Thanks for swinging on in tonight. Let's move on to our next news piece, because out in print and PDF is Wretched Space from the Red Room. Here's what I know. Wretched is an old-school role-playing game designed to play anti-hero characters in a cinematic setting. In Wretched Space, the genre is space opera. But unlike most other space operas, this one isn't about heroic characters whose actions have significant consequences for the future of civilization. Here you are meant to play on a smaller scale, and the higher purpose your character serves is his or her own self-interest. That doesn't imply you're playing a villain. You can still traverse the galaxy, enjoying extraordinary adventures and possibly even helping others. The characters will most likely commit crimes and exhibit contempt for other people's rights and well-being, but perhaps they'll wind up saving the day after all. The 238-page hardcover with PDF is available at DriveThruRPG for $22.08. Taking a guess, this is probably A5 size, digest size, somewhere around that for that pricing. You can also score the PDF alone for $11. So did want to mention this, and yes, that is the correct web address that you are looking at, even though the company is called The Red Room. So that is not a mistake. That is the correct web address. But The Red Room has a whole series of role-playing games. They've got a bunch in like their Wretched line. So, and they're all, okay, maybe I shouldn't say all, but many of them are kind of an old school flavor. In fact, their fantasy role playing game is called Wretched Bastards. So there is that. There's also another that I've stumbled across. Off the top of my head, I don't recall the title to it, but it's supposed to be like 1890s, 1900 France and secret cults and it's kind of horror and maybe a little mythos based, but not entirely. Actually, it looks very interesting. So the Red Room looks like they've got some pretty interesting role-playing games. And at least this one, you're not necessarily playing a villain. So there is that. On to my final news piece, now available as a pay-what-you-want on DriveThruRPG is Monster Ambulance from Valent Games. Here's the deets. Them, monsters, you, an ambulance crew, your friends, a whole hospital full of drama. Monster Ambulance is a tabletop RPG where you play an ambulance's driver, medics, and dispatcher. You respond when the fine citizens of Monstropolis are in danger, bringing them back to Grendel's Mother Memorial Hospital for treatment. No kaiju too large, no imp too small. When you're not racing through the streets of the city that shifts in its sleep, you're relaxing in the hospital, making friends and enemies, finding love and frustration. Then it's back to the ambulance for the next emergency. You're going to save some lives tonight. Monster Ambulance uses a set of custom cards. You can find them on drive-thru cards, but there's also an online version that you can use without having to buy anything. That link is actually located in this book. For players, no medical skill is required or even recommended to play this game. No driving skill either. You play as a human, a monster, or as a human who is the real monster in this movie. For GMs, the book includes pages and pages of random roll monsters and illnesses to help you improvise faster. Mythical monsters, horrifying monsters, cute monsters, robot monsters, just about anything you could want. This game includes mushy stuff and icky stuff. It also gives advice on how you can tailor that to the level you want. The 108-page PDF of Monster Ambulance is currently pay what you want at DriveThruRPG. And as you can see, I am sharing some interiors from that PDF. This looks pretty interesting. And at the moment, it is pay what you want. So I do always mention that publishers understand if they have something as pay what you want, it is possible that you can pay $0. And they're fine with that. They're looking to introduce the game to you. I don't know how long this is going to be pay what you want because I believe this just came out. So this might sort of be like a kind of like almost like a pre-release special that's going on here. So there you have it. Monster Ambulance. That's it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storytellers Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, by all means, make a small donation. Stop on over at paypal.me/thegaminggang and kick in a buck or two. In fact, the Madman just recently did. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Anyway, also some appreciation to the Madman as well, because he pointed out a couple of the links from the Gaming Gang October Spooktacular episodes were not resolving to the actual audio, which is it's a weird archive.org thing. The Internet Archive, that's usually where I'll upload the streams to. Because, really the show's a public domain anyway, right? But strangely enough, once you upload it, it'll give you a link, and sometimes, doesn't happen too often, but every once in a while, and in fact, it was really strange because it was 2 episodes almost right on top of each other. One was from October 1st. The other was October 3rd. The links will change. It's like, okay. It's a little weird. So they are repaired now. So I will be double checking all of the episodes in the Spooktacular later on tonight. Make sure that they're all resolving to the MP3 files. Probably will. So fingers crossed. But thanks for the Madman pointing that out. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known, because the links worked fine when I posted. Anywho, I also want to mention that Jason Bradley is going to take a shot at reviewing Goodman Games PDFs. That's right. So stay tuned. So we are going to roll out some Dungeon Crawl Classics adventure reviews. Yes. So sweet. So welcome Jason aboard. Jason's part of the gang. Hey. We'll see how long he lasts. It's kind of funny, and I'm certainly not picking on Jason, but I get people who join and they, oh yeah, I want to be a reviewer. Then they realize it's not as easy as they think it might be, So yeah, it's not unusual to have somebody join the gang and do a couple of reviews, and then they're like, ooh, geez, I'm expected to do 1 or 2 of these a month. I don't know about that. It happens. It happens. It's harder than you think. It really is. All right. There's a bunch of discussion about Halloween going on in chat. Also, Mr. Eddie T and Sarah D are hanging with us. Those are our other chat moderators. So we've got all 4 of our chat moderators hanging out. Doug Roberts is with us as well. Good to see you, Doug. All right. So that is it for the news. Not a whole lot cooking, really. I do want to mention that later on this week, I think it's on Friday. Off the top of my head, I think it's Friday. Because remember, all throughout the month, every day I'm sharing a review. So it's another one of the big things with October, right? So I got the Spooktacular. We're looking at role-playing games on every live stream. Many of those will be reviews. And every day there's a new review at thegaminggang.com. So on Friday, it's either Thursday or Friday. That's going to mark the 900th review at thegaminggang.com. Wow. Pretty amazing. So Doug says, anybody want to start taking bets on how long Jason's going to last? Jason said 2 days. Jeez. Wow. Let's not, terrorize the poor guy. Just decided to come on board last night. So anyway, my 900th review is going to be the Temple of Elemental Evil from Goodman Games. I've been holding off on doing the review because I wanted to kind of make it something special because, of course, it's the 2 volumes here. So that is going to be my 900th review. That is going to be a standalone video as well. So keep that in mind. So it will not be on the live stream. So Doug points out that Jason's got it. No problem. So Kevin asks, even though Jason's only doing PDFs, he's curious what my reaction is to the cancellation of Goodman Games. We were just looking at it. Original Adventures Reincarnated line. I haven't really, to be honest, I haven't really taken a deep dive into the announcement. I'm going to take a guess now. This is just completely off the top of my head. I'm going to take a guess there was probably some friction with Wizards of the Coast. That would be my guess. And part of it was probably that Wizards of the Coast would not allow them to sell PDFs. Just like I said, I have not explored the announcement. I did hear about it, and it's kind of disappointing because they, I got to be honest. I don't know if they're going to they're going to do that Judges Guild Original Adventures Reincarnated or not. So I'll have to take a peek because that kind of threw some people for a loop where it was like, oh, wait a second. So the first 6 were all D&D TSR modules. And then the 7th was going to be a Judges Guild product. And there's some flack from the owner of Judges Guild. Or no, I guess he is the owner. But I think it was the founder's son. I think it was Bob Bledsaw the third, who had said some pretty reprehensible things. So Doug asks, hey, Madman, wasn't your daughter reviewing a game a while back? Yeah, Samantha did some reviews, but she's in school. So I figured she was probably going to drop out. So Jason is Samantha's replacement. So yeah, sorry, Kevin. I don't have more that I can share with you because I've been too busy working on stuff for the gaming gang as opposed to digging too much into what's cooking with Goodman Games. They're not canceling Dungeon Crawl Classics or Mutant Crawl Classics or Lankmar or Empire of the East or anything like that. So we should be all right. All right. Anyway, other than that's about, that's right. I was going to tell you tonight on the Gaming Gang October Spooktacular, it is the scariest radio episode I have ever heard. That's right. Tonight it is Quiet Please and The Thing on the Forble board. So if you have never heard it, check it out. And I guarantee the Madman can attest, because I know the Madman's heard this show. It has got one scary ending. It is creepier than hell. Especially if you stop for a moment and read kind of between the lines of what's been going on. You'll be like, whoa. Ooh. All righty. So tonight I am going to be reviewing the second edition of the Doctor Who. Well, I guess I'll say Doctor Who, the role-playing game, because that's the official title. But first, let's take time out for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Hungry? Then here's a flavor hit. Enjoy tasty pit-cooked barbecue sandwiches with the big flavor of the barbecue pit. Castleberries cooks them long and slow over hickory coals that cook with a glow. Then zesty barbecue sauce is added to these lean cuts of meat to make your Castleberries pit-cooked barbecue sandwiches the tastiest kind of treat. They're delicious with French fries and your favorite soft drinks. Visit our snack bar now. You'll always find Castleberry's pit-cooked barbecue and other good things to eat at our snack bar.
No, I'm not going to drink any more Wilkins instant coffee. Now he's not going to drink any more coffee.
What's the matter? Oswald! You've got trouble. When you turn your ignition key on, all these electrical parts should join hands and work as a team. But one part is holding out. We've got to get you into our service department for a tune-up. There. Now all the electrical parts work together like a team. Boy, what a difference! She's raring to go. Right, Andy. And to keep your car running right, periodically treat the electrical system to a tune-up at your authorized Autolite service station.
Where you find men who are specialists on the electrical system of your car, trained under Autolite supervision. You get complete service at this dealer.
Wonkins dies off screen. It's kind of a funny way. He's got the anti-television violence. Yes. And the Madman points out that, yes, the thing on the Forble board is a fantastic, spooky story. So definitely give it a listen. Give it a listen. So Kevin points out the barbecue is a step up from normal drive-in concessions. You know, and the funny thing is, I don't remember there ever being barbecue at a concession stand at a drive-in. Now, maybe back in like the 50s and 60s, yeah, but I don't know. Although I got to be honest, when I was a kid, I don't think I ever actually, I think maybe once when I was a small kid, maybe once I went into the concession stand with one of my parents. But I remember, of course, as a teenager, and then, you know, going to the drive-in with your friends and, you know, girls you're dating and stuff like that, then, you know, of course, you're going into the concession stand. I don't remember barbecue. So 245 Trioxin's asking, when's the 50/50 sale? I pointed this out last night. Trying to remember who asked last night. Hopefully it wasn't 245 Trioxin. Trying my patience. It should roll out this weekend. And there are at least 200 items that are going to be part of it. And a lot of stuff, you know, be rock bottom prices. So it'll be first come, first served. So do have to point that out as well. So I'm going to try to work something out. I'm not sure if I'm going to have folks comment in the comment section again on what they want, or have them send me emails. Thing is, if I have people send me emails, then there's really no record of who got dibs on stuff first, which I'd like to be able to, you know, have out there. So we'll see what happens. Doug points out drive-ins were a blast. Too bad there aren't as many around like they used to be. I think it seems like everybody has one like they've heard of that's not too far away from them. I think that's how it works now in the U.S. All right, Mel Winnius from York popped in just to chime in before they head on off to bed. So thanks for hanging out for a few minutes with us, Mel. We will catch you next time. All right, let's move it right along because tonight I am reviewing the second edition of Doctor Who, the role-playing game from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. It's written by David F. Chapman, Will Brooks, Zach Dale Clutterbuck, Eleanor Hingley, Andrew Peregrine, and John Sewell, and Chris Spivey, with artwork provided by Will Brooks. The 256-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $49.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone at DriveThruRPG for $29.99. Should point out, if you pick up the hardcover from Cubicle 7 Entertainment or a store that is part of their Bits and Mortar, I think that's what they call it as well, Bits and Mortar, Bricks and Mortar, whatever. A brick and mortar store, which is part of their program, you'll get the PDF absolutely free. Swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the second edition of Doctor Who, the role-playing game. So we did take a peek through this. We did a page through. I also have the limited edition, the special collector's edition, which we took a peek at, which is very cool. The cover is like the TARDIS and it opens up. So this is the standard edition of the hardcover. A few things to mention before we dive on in. Fine folks over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. These days, it's important that you know that. I'm also going to say picture-in-picture up here, as I always do, and that means I'll be cutting off a little bit of the upper left portion of the book as we take a peek throughout. Speaking of peeking throughout, we're not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you'll find in this second edition, as well as provide my thoughts as well. And I also have a little extra bonus that we're going to take a peek at something. So actually, 1 second here. There it is. There we go. So as I talk about the mechanics of the game, why don't we use... All right, come on, you. The Doctor Who dice. If I can actually get this tab out. There we go. Like, come on. I don't want to have to rip the box. So these are the Doctor Who role-playing game dice. They are available from Cubicle 7 Entertainment as well. And each of the faces actually has a design to it. And the one has a Dalek, and the 6 has the TARDIS. And we will discuss what the importance of 1s and 6s are when we dive on into the mechanics of the game. You want the whole universe? Someone who's seen it all? And that's me. I've lived longer, seen more, loved more, and lost more. I can share it all with you. If you could travel across space and time, where would you go? With Doctor Who, the role-playing game, you can find out. Travel to the most distant stars as they're born, and maybe travel back to the creation of Stonehenge or the Great Pyramids. It may be dangerous facing threats from Daleks, Cybermen, or even worse, but it'll be worth it. What are you waiting for? Let's get a shift on. The award-winning Doctor Who, the role-playing game, has regenerated into a new second edition that is faster, easier, and even more exciting. The book presents all the rules and background you need to voyage across space and time with the Doctor, or as new characters, experiencing brand new epic adventures. Doctor Who, the role-playing game second edition is designed to appeal to both the experienced and first-time gamer for 2 or more players aged 10 to 10,000. All right, and then we've got the Cybermen, and we've got the latest regeneration of the Master. I wasn't too keen on that portrayal. I have to be very honest. I have yet to find any of the incarnations of the Master to be anywhere near as good as the John Pertwee, Tom Baker Masters, the two actors who portrayed the Master for both of those Doctors, the third and the fourth. All right, so we're going to dive on in. Want to point out that most of the artwork throughout this edition is devoted to the Jodie Whittaker version of the Doctor, but there's artwork from every single Doctor in here. So that's pretty cool as well. So first off, super rules light. This is very easy for you to wrap your head around. Essentially, the mechanics are attribute plus skill and roll 2 6-sided dice. And you're looking to better a difficulty number that the game master is going to come up with. Now, you'll have other like story points and things like that you can utilize as well. But for the most part, your mechanic is going to be take your attribute, the applicable attribute, or if you can convince your game master that that's the attribute that would apply. No, I'm serious, man. If I have to dodge quickly, it's my strength. Because I have to be powerful enough to drive my body quickly. You know, maybe you can talk him into it. All right. So jumping on in, there is tons and tons of photography all throughout the book. The quality of the paper is very nice. And this hardcover should hold up pretty well to a lot of repeated use. Coco B points out, agreed. Roger Delgado was the master. Yes, and unfortunately, if I remember correctly, he died in a car accident. That's why they replaced him with an actor who, off the top of my head, I don't recall their name, but who looked a hell of a lot like Roger Delgado and sounded a little bit like him as well. And I had heard that Roger Delgado was just a sweetheart of a person, too. So the Madman says they want to try to run this for their Savage Worlds group. Not sure when they get to it. They've got 3 other Savage Worlds settings already planned for the future. So one of the cool aspects, I think, of both editions of the Doctor Who role-playing game is you do not have to play as the Doctor and the Doctor's companions. You can play as, if you wanted to, you could play as Jack. You could play as, off the top of my head, he was part of almost like Time Cops or whatever, at least when the Doctor first meets him. At least that's what he says, right? You can play characters like that. You could play characters who happen to get their hands on a TARDIS. You don't have to be from Gallifrey or anything like that. So I like that quite a lot. So creating player characters is pretty easy. You're going to have your attributes. So you've got your attributes, and they're relatively traditional. Let me go back to that. Oh, actually, it's still ahead of us. We have, here we go. Awareness, coordination, ingenuity, presence, resolve, and strength. And you're going to have 18 points that you can break up into those attributes however you would like. And it's important to keep in mind that 18 points will actually create an above average person. So you are heroic. You're not just average Joes and Janes traveling through space and time. So you've got that. Then we've got skills, but there aren't a a lot of skills. There's only a few. There's like a dozen. So we've got athletics, conflict, convince, craft, intuition, knowledge, medicine, science, subterfuge, survival, technology, and transport. That's it. But each of those skills also do have specializations as well. You'll get 18 points to break up into skills. So, of course, having more skills than there are attributes, your skill ratings will be far lower. You'll have some skills that you will have a 0 in. So you just won't have points that you've allocated, probably. Because remember, with your action resolution, you're rolling 2 6-sided dice, as well as adding your attributes and your skill together, and then you will have a difficulty number that has been created by the game master that you're looking to meet or best. So as you can see throughout, got plenty of photography. So that is from the First Doctor. That is the Doctor's granddaughter, which I think, doesn't it turn out that it's not really his granddaughter? If I remember correctly. Or maybe that's later on down the line that's discussed. So a concept that you have to keep in mind as far as Doctor Who, the role-playing game, is conflict is not something that you really want to involve yourself in. Of course, yes, there is going to be fighting, there's going to be conflict, but that is not how the Doctor resolves problems. The Doctor does not resolve problems by resorting to violence. Does that mean there has to be a fight from time to time? Yes, of course there is. So there are a lot of mechanisms in this game regarding social conflict or resolving conflict in non-violent ways, because for the most part, that's what you see in the history of Doctor Who. Even the third Doctor, John Pertwee, his character, yeah, he'd tussle, he'd mix it up, but he still wasn't somebody that always resorted to violence. He would be the first character to try to approach the aliens, to talk to them and reason with them and find out, why were they there? And a lot of times it turned out it was, a misunderstanding. So Jason asks, is the second edition backwards compatible? Yes. Jason points out Roger Delgado was also supposed to be a great person dealing with the fans. Yeah, that's why I had always heard that it was so funny that he played such a villainous character because he was such a really nice person. All right, so just going on through here. There we go. There's my nephew's favorite Doctor. I introduced my nephew Cameron to Doctor Who. I think it was the second season with David Tennant. At that point, but I think my nephew was, 11. So this is a narrative game. This is not a very crunchy game. There is not a lot of, this is what's going on during our downtime. It's not sandboxy or anything along those lines either. So one thing that's kind of interesting too, as far as resolving conflict, is that if you're a fighter, you're going to go last in the round. So right here, talkers, movers, doers, fighters. So during the scene, you establish intent. So establishing intent is just simply, what are all the characters going to do? That's all it is. So I thought it was kind of funny because the way it's kind of presented here is, everybody has to declare intent. Well, the players have to say what their characters are going to do. I mean, that's like every role-playing game. Anyway, very, very rules light throughout. And there are actually more rules about running away than there are with actual fighting. So we've got different equipment. And for the most part, equipment and gadgets and things like that are essentially giving you a bonus. They provide you with a bonus. You also have story points that you can spend to increase the success. So let me see. Let me go back here. Let me see if I can find the success table. So remember I told you that you're looking to roll above. Here we go. Success levels. So let's say, as an example, we had an attribute that I have a 3 and I have a skill that's a 3, and then I'm going to roll my 2 6-sided dice. So I got a 1 and a 5. So that'd be 6 and 6. So if something relatively, I guess, not real difficult, that would score a success. But 1s and 6s are very important. So if you roll a 1 on one of your 2 dice, then if you succeed, you still succeed, but a complication arises. Now, if you roll a 6 and another number and you succeed, then something really good happens on top of that success. If you roll 2 6s, no matter what the difficulty number is, you automatically succeed. If you roll 2 1s, no matter what your skill and attribute are and the difficulty number is, then you fail. And it's kind of like a critical failure, just like the 2 6s is like a critical success. So then we have different success levels, and it just breaks all these down. So there is some complexity on the game master's end as far as success or failure. So it's not just a simple pass or fail, because there are other mechanics built into the dice roll, where if you get a 1 or a 6 or craps or boxcars, that things are going to be a little bit different. So there is that kind of extra level of complexity in your action resolution. So we get different vehicles. We get a lot of information about time travel, TARDISes, Gallifrey, the Doctor. So we have the one chapter. The biggest chapter is a big ball of timey-wimey stuff. We get a bit of a bestiary. Not much. We get some pre-generated characters, as well as we get some characters from the series as well. And anybody recognize this guy? Tom from Ted Lasso. I started to say Tom Lasso. It's like, what? So we get a brief history of space and time. Here we've got some of the kind of the bestiary. There we go. The second Doctor there. Patrick Troughton. Oh, there's the Yeti. which is from if I remember correctly, it's from Patrick Troughton. So as you can see, the stat blocks, very, very simple to break down. We've got some adventure hooks throughout. And then we get a guide to converting first edition to second edition. And there aren't a lot of differences. I mean, the game, in my opinion, it feels like, and it's been a long time since I reviewed the first edition of, well, at that point in time, it was Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space. And I liked it, but I thought, in my opinion, it was a little too light in its approach. This feels streamlined, but it also feels denser to me. Now, like I said, it's been a long time since I reviewed the first edition of the game, but I do like this edition more than I did the previous edition. All right, so then we've got some pre-gens as far as the major characters, at least in the first season of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. And then off the top of my head, I can't remember the character's name. It's like the newest companion that I believe was in this last season. They do have that available for download for free over at the Cubicle 7 Entertainment website. Then we get a blank character sheet and an index. And that is the second edition of Doctor Who, the role-playing game from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. So as I mentioned, I was going to include a little bit of a bonus, and that bonus is I'm going to share with you what one of the Doctor Sourcebooks look like. Now, we're not going to take a look through this whole thing, but I do want to give you a feel for these because these are excellent. And if you are going to pick up Doctor Who, the role-playing game, and as long as you're looking at any of the first 12 Doctors, if you want to set your adventures in any of those episodes of the show or utilize any of the companions or those Doctors, these are invaluable. Plus, this has got a lot of great content, even for people who have no interest in the role-playing game at all. So, of course, we've talked about it before. My Doctor is Tom Baker. So just to kind of give you an idea. So we'll get a breakdown of the major characters. Might have some new traits, which are a little different now in the second edition because we have concept and focus, which are new. We've got the Fourth Doctor's companions. Yes, Doctor. K9. Romana, the first incarnation. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Leela. That's the first incarnation of Romana and then the second. Yes, a lot of people not big fans of Adric. I was like, whatever. So, as you can see, the character sheets are a bit different from the first edition, but all this stuff is very easily ported over to the new edition of Doctor Who, the role-playing game. So we get each of the episodes that Doctor was in. So we get Robot, right? So this was the first appearance of Tom Baker replacing John Pertwee as the Doctor. So we get a synopsis of the adventure. So one of the cool things is a lot of those First and Second Doctor, especially the Second Doctor adventures, got wiped. Just got wiped out because the BBC wanted to reuse those tapes. Like, yeah, okay. Jason says Robot was so shoddy. Yeah, it was pretty. We're talking about bad special effects. I mean, come on, it didn't get much worse than Doctor Who, but these were a lot of fun. These were a lot of fun. So Sarah D points out that she grabbed the PDF versions of these when Humble Bundle had a sale on them. And that was something I was going to mention. Keep your eyes peeled because from time to time, Cubicle 7 runs these specials on Humble Bundle for the Doctor Who role-playing game, and they'll include all of the Doctor source books. So as you can see, we've got each of the adventures, the arc in space. Get a synopsis. We get some background information running this episode as an adventure. We also get stat blocks for various different NPCs and creatures that appear. And then we also get a little section at the end talking about, okay, so what if you want to build upon that episode? What if you wanted to continue that adventure? And it gives you some nuggets for that as well. So this is the Tom Baker book. Pyramids of Mars. Boy, these bring back memories. These bring back memories of Sunday evenings, sitting out on my front porch in the summertime, watching WTTW Channel 11 out of Chicago. Of course, I lived in Chicago. So, watching Doctor Who. And of course, unlike the folks in Europe, the UK, who, you know, got like a half-hour episode or 25-minute episode every week, we were getting like full adventures. Sometimes they would break it up. They would break up something that if it had like 8 episodes, they broke it up into 2 episodes on consecutive Sundays. But we got to see like a lot of times the whole adventure. If it was like a 4 or 5 part adventure, it was edited into just one long episode. And it's funny because I remember there were times that they would have a PBS pledge drive on that night. And it would never fail. Doctor Who would start late. And I'd be like, come on. Sometimes, you know, I'd have school the next morning. I'd be like, come on, let's go. Come on. I got to get up. I got to go to school tomorrow. And there were times that an episode might not end until like 1:30 in the morning. When it would normally come on at like 11. So these are very, very cool. I love these source books. They are just fantastic. And as I started to say, you've got a lot of episodes that no longer exist, but you actually have the synopsis of the adventure and everything, and even some photography from them in the source books as well. So there we go. And then what was I'm trying to remember the name of the final episode. Isn't it Entropy or something? Oh, there we go. Legopolis. Yeah, yes. There's the master. Yes. And if I remember right, didn't this episode, this guy isn't the master, but he looks just like the master. And then he's replaced by the master. So it's been so many years. It's been decades since I saw the episode. Oh, no, actually, it hasn't been that long. I did watch a lot of the Tom Baker episodes about 12 years ago. So I remember this episode. This is where the Doctor regenerates, and we didn't know anything really about that. And I'll never forget, I was over at Elliot's house, and we're watching it because he watched Doctor Who too. and all of a sudden he falls to his death and regenerates into Peter Davidson. We were like, what? Huh? Kevin says their local PBS station always ran whole arcs in 2.5 hour blocks. Wow, we didn't get that long. I think the longest they would go is maybe 2 hours. And if it was going to be longer than that, I think that's when they would split them in half. Anyway, that is an example of the source books for Doctor Who. I got to be honest, I don't know if we're going to see updates to these or if they're just going to stay the way they are, where they're, Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space. So I would take a guess. Well, they're probably going to just stay the way they are because there isn't a whole lot that you would change to port these adventures and that, or these stats and that over to the second edition of Doctor Who, the role-playing game, which is what brought us here in the first place. So let's swing on over to the other camera. I am going to provide some final thoughts as well as my review score. I have to say, if you've got any interest in any sort of role-playing in the world of Doctor Who, you really owe it to yourself to pick up the second edition of Doctor Who, the role-playing game. Even if you don't want to recreate the Doctor's adventures, maybe you don't want to include the Doctor at all or the companions, there are options for you to do that. So you can have your own time traveling group. And also, it kind of alleviates the problem of, okay, so who gets to play the Doctor? Right? So it's like, well, you could have the Doctor as the NPC, but then it's like, okay, then the NPC's stealing the spotlight from the players. So the rules system itself, very, very easy to grasp. Although, because there are the various different levels of success based on the die roll, like, ones and sixes and things like that, it's probably a little trickier for newcomers to wrap their head around, as opposed to, oh, well, it's just you're rolling and there's your target number you have to meet or beat. There is plenty of background information. If you were looking to maybe run another system and adapt Doctor Who to it, this would work for that as well, because there is just so much background content in here. And because it is so stats light, pretty easy for you to port that over as well. All in all, like I said, I really do like the second edition of Doctor Who, the role-playing game, more than I originally liked Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space. I think it just, mechanically, it just feels smoother than the first. And in my opinion, it's a bit lighter and more streamlined as well. On a scale of 0 to 10, I give Doctor Who, the role-playing game, second edition, an 8.5 out of 10. I do like it. I do recommend it. And don't forget, if you're interested in these Doctor Source books, keep your eyes peeled on Humble Bundle, because 2 or 3 times a year, Cubicle 7 Entertainment will roll out a special on Humble Bundle, and they always include all of the Doctor Source books. And usually you can score everything for around $25 or so. So really smashing deal for that as well. All right. So Flaming Heron says, must have for any fan of new and old Who. Yeah, I agree. Jason says they bought the PDF of Doctors and Daleks. They haven't gotten around to checking it out. I have it as well. I've probably had it longer than many people out there. I haven't taken a peek at it yet either. I'm sure it'll do well. I mean, come on, it's Doctor Who and 5e. I don't know. Personally, how do I put this? Well, I mean, it really has nothing to do with Cubicle 7, but sometimes I think companies are just too quick to adapt game systems that they've created over to like 5e. And I get it. You're looking at essentially the biggest audience out there as far as role-playing games. But those mechanics don't necessarily translate to every genre and every system out there. It's not. Jason says, seems like everything is 5e. See, that's another thing too. And I get it. I understand, you know, you got companies out there, third-party companies do a lot of 5e stuff. And it's like, hey, you know what? We got to design for where the people are. But then you also have the flip side of that. You have so much competition already there. So anyway, regardless, we're talking about Doctor Who, the role-playing game, not Doctors and Daleks. Okay, so what is cooking on tomorrow's show? Well, I will be reviewing Call of Cthulhu, Cults of Cthulhu, from the fine folks over at Chaosium Inc. Next week on Monday, I will be reviewing the Southlands Player's Guide from Kobold Press. On Tuesday, I will be reviewing Gran Mechanismo. I always have a hard time trying to pronounce this. From Osprey Games. And next Wednesday, I will share my review of the Hyperborea Referee's Manual from Northwind Adventures. Got other reviews cooking as well. Remember, new reviews each and every day at thegaminggang.com. So I bumped the mic there. Hopefully that didn't create a big thump. And don't forget, review number 900 coming this week. Original Adventures Reincarnated, the Temple of Elemental Evil. And I will actually take a peek to see what's going on with the cancellation of the OAR line from Goodman Games. All right. So that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my review of Best Left Buried Deeper. Yes, from Soul Muppet Publishing. I enjoyed this. I thought this was very cool. If you're kind of curious about kind of a rules light, bit darker fantasy sort of dungeon delving game with an old school flavor, check out my review. Of course, thank you very much if you happen to be watching live. If you watched live and took part in chat, bigger tip of the cap and extra experience points for you, because not only were you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company as well. All right. But I also know that most people out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch the stream live. Doesn't matter if you're watching any of these videos live or on Memorex. Thank you very kindly for taking time out of your busy life to check out anything here on the channel. All right. I will be back tomorrow. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. And of course, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.